as you'll learn from throwing pottery, you really have to kind of be focused on the present moment.
Yes.
And if you're not, disaster ensues, and all of a sudden you're covered in clay and mud.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ripples Physician Wellbeing. It's our podcast from the Joe R. and Teresa Lozano Long School of Medicine at UT Health San Antonio. I am your co-host, Dr. Adriana Diurich, and I am joined by Dr. Veena Prasad, our other co-host.
Wonderful. It's exciting to be here for the season 4 Life Beyond Medicine, because there's so much out there other than medicine. So we are trying to combine creativity like music,
Yes, dance, writing,
pottery,
advocacy,
which will help our physicians to be better in what they do and take care of themselves.
We are talking this time about life beyond medicine and how can that help us with our wellness. And today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Jennifer LaCoss. She is an associate professor at UT Health San Antonio, and she is the medical director for the Adult Palliative Care Service at University Hospital. How are you doing, Jenny? Welcome back.
Wonderful. I'm so happy to be here.
We are happy to.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you, Jenny, again.
Yes, she's going to become an honorary co-host
Exactly.
after this. And of course, we have Dr. Veena Prasad, our host for all these 4 seasons. So let's start asking you, what we're doing this time is we're talking about other things that we can do outside of medicine that can maybe help us bring some balance and some wellness into our lives. And we figure out you are actually a potter.
Yes.
That is amazing. And I had the honor to invite myself to your house to try pottery for the first time. So please tell us a little bit about, how did pottery start in your life? What sparked that desire?
Well, it's been a really long journey for me. I actually started my pottery journey when I was in high school. And, I have to credit my parents because they've always encouraged me to, find creative outlets. They're creative people themselves. But my dad is a retired industrial arts teacher, and he was with this wonderful cohort of other teachers in high school up in Western Kansas, and one of them was a ceramics instructor. And so I just started just being curious and knowing him with taking one class, and that was just the beginning, and that's where I got hooked with pottery.
Nice.
And then I took, through school and through career journeys, I took really long hiatuses, but whenever I had a chance, I would find a community class, and I would do a community class, and I just loved it every time. And so kind of long-term life goals was to have a pottery studio and really, develop and learn about pottery and have a practice in pottery. And so I've been able to achieve that. But it's been a very long journey, but it's been really neat because I've learned so much along the way.
Yeah.
That is so wonderful to hear. And I also feel maybe it started at home. Creativity starts at home.
Yes.
For many of us.
Yes.
Right?
And if we look at it, a lot of families have their own little, creative pocket.
Yeah.
Some families are very much into music, into pottery, into dance, or many ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, my mom likes to do quilting, and I've done painting classes with her. My dad, on the other hand, does welding and builds things, builds steam engines. So, there's just such a wide variety of creative outlets. And I think the involvement of family can be really powerful and important with that and what you develop for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful to hear.
Now, Jenny, am I wrong, or you restarted with COVID?
Yes. So I was on a very long pottery hiatus, getting established in medicine and my career and the things I'm currently doing and teaching. And then in 2020, the pandemic happened, and the palliative care service really had to pivot, as we all did,
Yes.
and really ramp up the intensity, the volume, and the level of the work we were doing. And the work we were doing was incredibly difficult, and took a big toll on all of us. As I walked through the hospital, I could see the tremendous impact and toll in some really negative ways that COVID had, and the struggles that we all had together. There were some really nice things with forming community with that also that kind of helped us through. But it was also really overwhelming, and it was kind of this all-consuming experience, to the point where I was having dreams about work, rounding all day, doing really intense stuff, and then going to bed at night and dreaming about work.
Yes.
And I recognized pretty quickly that that was not sustainable for me, and I needed to do something different. And so I started kind of thinking about, well, what can I do? And just recalling that, I have this love for pottery. So I started exploring, how can I enact that? And do I have the resources and tools available in our community to do this? So I started just exploring what was out there, and I found a class at a local studio. It was Roadrunner Ceramics just down the road from us. And so that's where it kind of rekindled for me. And then my mom found some pottery equipment because she was just kind of poking around and, has continued to have interest, and found somebody selling some used pottery equipment. So I found a wheel and luckily a kiln. Not everybody, can have a kiln at home. That's the tough part. But that's really where I kind of hit the ground running, and I just started learning again and creating again. And I found very quickly that it was just really helpful in continuing the really intense work that I was doing at the time.
Yeah, it sounds like the time was so intense for you. And then this was your creative outlet. And then were you able to use those skills for you to continue during that intense period of taking care of patients? And then probably you saw a lot of loss of lives and death and things like that.
Yeah, so, just in the nature of the work we do in palliative care, we take care of people with really serious illness, life-limiting illness. We take care of dying people, and that can be really hard sometimes. And it's very easy to get kind of swept up in the emotion and the intensity of that. It can be very rewarding work. It's very rewarding, and all of my colleagues and I, we're drawn to this to serve others. But there can be kind of a pathological side to it if you get too wrapped up into it. And so pottery really kind of is an exercise. It's kind of a meditation for me in a way.
Yes.
And it's a way where I can let go of work for a while, clear my mind. It's mindfulness, because as you'll learn from throwing pottery, you really have to kind of be focused on the present moment.
Yes.
And if you're not, disaster ensues, and all of a sudden you're covered in clay and mud. And so you really have to focus, and with focusing to create something that's enjoyable but also relaxing, that becomes this very restorative source of creative outlet, and has been just so tremendously helpful for me. And just there's lots of analogies for it. You could talk about the mindfulness and focus and this meditative process, but also the restorative process of creating new things and creativity, but also accepting failure and loss.
Yes, that's
because
true.
If you can't accept failure in pottery, that may not be, because you're gonna fail 1,000 times before you make that first perfect coffee cup or bowl. So there's a lot of analogies that I think can be really powerful if you reflect upon them. And then we're all made of mud, and there's sayings out there about relating that lotus flowers grow from mud.
Yes.
And I find working with clay, because it comes from the earth, to be a way to connect with the earth.
More like a
So-
grounding to ourselves,
Yeah,
of
very
our
grounding.
existence.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot in pottery for me.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Beautiful. You also made me think of this dichotomy of working with people towards the end of their life or their physical life, and also creating something from nothing. And it's these two sides of the same coin, because life is just all of that.
Yes.
It includes everything. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, when you said about pottery and then cultures, across cultures, people have honored pottery, and then it has really given them identity of who they are. And I know back at home, we used to do this small pottery jewelry, terracotta jewelry, and then we would all burn the in the kiln and then wear them. So in a way, you're connecting from our past to present existence, and also talking about there can be imperfectionism in pottery, and especially the Japanese thing they talk about, kintsugi, right? They say
love it, yes.
it's like fixing the things that are broken. So in that context, I'm asking, it's hard as a palliative care physician. It's not for everybody. It takes so much toll out of you. And so do you, with your busy schedule, I know you wear so many hats, do you allocate some time specially for this? And then this is something our residents would love to know, because one of the common things is, I don't have time. How do you make time? Is there a specific number of, like half an hour or 1 hour? What is the best that has worked for you?
Yeah, so, we all talk about work-life balance, and the real struggles in medicine, because our patients, they're there 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
We all deeply care about service to help and serve others, but we also have to take care of ourselves. And finding that balance can be extremely challenging sometimes, because, I'm going to answer the phone if somebody calls me at 8 o'clock at night, because I know a patient may need help. And we all accept that to some extent, but I think that it's really important to have some intention with this as well. And, I fall on my face all the time with, really, sticking to really strict boundaries and things like that. Boundaries are really tough in medicine.
Yes.
And so I think we have to be kind to ourselves, but try to have some intention and really put some thought into, well, how can I incorporate this into my busy day to day? There are ways to do it, and we shouldn't strive for perfection in that.
Yeah.
I always tell people, ask me any week what I'm doing. Every single week is going to be different with how life unfolds. And so, and I accept that, because there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty in medicine. And rather than try to hold myself to really strict schedule and things like that, I actually welcome uncertainty and kind of just go with the flow.
Yes.
But I also really try to have some intention at the end of my day. I kind of mark an end to my day as much as I can. Sometimes that's difficult also, but as much as I can over time, I've learned that, if I can kind of set a goal for myself just for that day, just little small snippets, small bite-sized things, I can say, I'm going to stop working at 5 o'clock today, and I'm going to set this down. And I also have trust in my colleagues that they're there to help also. We have a system developed, so it's not just on one person all the time.
Yes.
And, that's part of community building also is, how do we support ourselves as a community? And so, with intention, I set work aside and say, I trust that, there are others who are, taking care of my patients also. If somebody calls and needs a hand, I'm there. But, I do set aside some time, and that may look different from week to week. But, and it may be, my goal might be just wedging clay and getting it prepared for making pottery the next day. It might just be small things. Or it might be, I really want to make a bowl this evening. So I often will do my pottery work after work. I find that helps kind of end my day, clear my mind, relax. And then on the weekends when I have time, I do take a class on Saturdays, so that's structured time for me. But otherwise, I don't hold myself to a really strict schedule. And, you know, I don't have a to-do list of I need to do this many things in this amount of time. I let that kind of unfold naturally. If I'm too tired to do it, I accept that and I give myself a break. So some of it's about self-kindness also, self-compassion that, you know, I may have had a goal setting off in the morning that I wanted to make a bowl in the evening, but maybe the day didn't work out.
Not today, maybe
way.
tomorrow.
That's okay.
Yes.
But I think it's about the intention.
Yes.
Oh my God! You unpacked so many concepts,
I was about to say that.
Yes,
this is chock full of
so many concepts. Letting go. Excuse me. Letting go of perfectionism, and letting go of things, setting intentions, and start small. Be kind to yourself. How many more?
Yeah. Oh, yes. So many. But we've been talking about this. You gave us so much to work with. How do we make this a direct connection to residency? Because we know that our residents and fellows are the ones listening to this and saying, how do I apply this to my life?
Exactly.
How is this going to help me?
Yeah. So, you know, I think that, again, we as a medical community need to encourage people to find what is meaningful to the individual and really fostering a sense of community to support that. Because I think creative outlets are so vital, and that creative outlet might be making a podcast or music. I can't tell you how many musicians I've discovered on our faculty and residents also. And again, it's, you know, what's meaningful to that person, and then just finding ways where we can support people in those things. I think the Center for Medical Ethics and Humanities does a beautiful job of encouraging this and supporting students and residents and finding those creative outlets. And I'm really proud of our institution that we encourage those things and really kind of cheer people on to do them and try to find ways to do it. But I think, you know, as a resident, you're forming your kind of career identity in a lot of ways. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. And so I think one of the really powerful things is to try to connect with others and build a community. And it may not be a community of people that are doing the exact same thing, but you may find within that community that you're like, oh, that is a wonderful way to do that. And really having curiosity, I think, is key. And, you know, be willing to fail, you know, from time to time from a creative perspective. I was just talking with our colleague before you guys came, and she was telling me all of the wonderful things that she does. And she's an artist and, you know, has done so many things. And
Kimberly,
is exploring.
Surprise!
All the artists that, you know, now we can connect. Way how we connect with others is through creativity, right? Oh, my, yes.
Let's do it quickly.
What was the question?
What do you do? Tell us a little bit.
Okay. Let's see, Dr. LaCoss, thank you for this introduction. So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. I was telling her that I am what I affectionately would like to call myself a bit of a hobby goblin, where I see something cool and I want to learn how to do it.
Love it.
But 2/3 into doing one thing, I see something else cool and I want to learn how to do that. And so then I jump ship and go try that one and come back. Anything from jewelry making with beads to I took a stained glass class, and I have a welding kit to eventually get a stained glass station set up. Sewing, embroidery, leatherworking, art. So during COVID, Bob Ross had a big influence on me, so I did a lot of painting during COVID. So just a lot of different creative outlets that for no other purpose than just having fun. One of the groups that I joined was a trinket trading group, which, if you're not familiar with the concept, it's people who just make things to give away. And it could be anything from, keychains or
Community building.
or little
Yes.
little sculptures, little figurines, or I've had toddlers make the foam or the fuzzy straw, the straw things, the fuzzy straws, make little critters
Yes.
out of
Pipe
those.
cleaner?
There you go,
Pipe
pipe
cleaners.
cleaners. There
Yes,
you go.
the pipe cleaners.
And they're just so proud to just hand something off to someone, and the whole purpose is just to make people smile. And
How
how
beautiful
beautiful.
and right what you were saying. Create community, connect with others.
Yep. Yep.
Beautiful.
Anyway, back to my hole.
So creativity
We
in
did it.
all of us.
And I just want to point out the importance of what you said, Kimberly, because sometimes we are so focused on the outcome. How is this going to look? What am I going to make?
Yes.
And what for? In the process.
It's the process
is
that counts,
what
actually. Yes.
Sometimes we make things, and that's where this beautiful art, sand art, it's just made for the process of making it. We know the wind is going to come and blow it. It doesn't matter. It's the process of getting there.
That reminds me of mandala. That's the whole thing. You build it, you make it. They take hours. In few minutes, it's all gone. It's like, you focus on the process. That's exactly what pottery reminds me of. Focus on the process.
And I think this concept for residency in general is so important because sometimes we're so focused on the outcome.
Right.
When I'm done here. But we are in training.
Mm-hmm.
It's the process that we have to go through. I always tell them if you knew everything you had to know, if you had practiced everything you had to practice, you wouldn't be in residency. So it's the process.
It's the process. It's the learning.
Yes.
It's the acceptance of uncertainty.
Yes, that's a big factor.
Process can be adapted to, what's right for you. Some people are very strict and regimented, and I have to have a checklist, and that's important in medicine, to have a, very structured process. And some of art is about structure also.
Yes.
But I think the other thing that art helps us to learn is accepting failure if we've done something unskillful, and having some, again, forgiveness for ourselves, and that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail, and again, in medicine, sometimes the stakes are very high.
Yes.
And so those mistakes or failures can have big impact. And, but we're human. And so we have to accept that, we may have times where we're less skilled than others. And what did we learn from that? If we did make a mistake, or the process that we had laid out didn't work as we had hoped. And I think that there are a lot of parallels with art with that. For me, for pottery, I set out with 5 pounds of clay, and I'm like, I'm going to make a really big thing today. And then halfway through it just collapses, and then I'm covered in clay, and I'm like, oh, that didn't work out, and maybe I was disappointed that it didn't, but at the end of the day, I still enjoyed the process, and I go back to the drawing board, and okay, what was the place where that went wrong today?
Jenny, you talked about so many concepts, all in few minutes, just relating to pottery. It's like community, let go of perfectionism, process, so many things you brought it to our attention. So do you feel, which you already kind of addressed, any parallels between the mindset that medicine has that is so strict, that has to be done this way, and that you've been able to use those things in pottery, and there are some things that you probably have let go? What are some things that come to your mind? Especially as a palliative physician, because I know plastic surgeons do it because they want to build. In your case, you're building something else, like with families and, things like that.
Yeah, I think for me, with palliative care, kind of at the very core of it is the presence that you have with people.
Yeah.
And that very deep presence, and the focus that's required for that. So, I'm there to serve this person who's probably in a really difficult situation, or family, maybe struggling, with various things. And that requires really intense presence and focus. And I find in the work I do with palliative care, when I'm sitting with a patient and really discussing what matters most to them, what are their priorities, what do we need to help support those priorities, the rest of the world kind of drops away. And, I lose track of time. I'm not focused on time. Although, we have to be focused on time and efficiency in medicine. But you can find that you can do that with presence.
Yes.
And you can be very present for these really important things that can be very profound. But they can be done efficiently, but also still incorporating our values and our care for people. And people can feel really heard if you're able to give them that presence. And kind of the parallel that you ask about with pottery for me is I apply that same intention of presence to my pottery. And so when I'm working on throwing, a particular piece of pottery, I am completely present for that. And the rest of the world kind of drops away in those moments. And it may just be 5 minutes or it may be 30 minutes. But in that time, I'm practicing presence in a certain way also that I think really is parallel to that.
How profound, Jenny. Presence.
Yes. And we've been talking about throwing. We've been throwing rocks here, but I'm still going to ask you, what is that one pebble that you want to leave for us? A call to action, something that you invite us to do so we can create wellness ripples.
Yeah. So my pebble is find or build a community of people that you connect with. So connect with people and then just go for it. You may not have a perfect plan. You may not know where to start, but find some people who can support you, who may be interested also, and connect with them and then just go for it and let it unfold and accept uncertainty and be excited about it and just take it day by day and start small.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. It was such a lovely conversation. We are finding artists already building community here with Kimberly's talents here. So thank you.
And my dream is to be in the talent show dancing. So I'm going to start looking for somebody that wants to dance with me on our talent show. And let's go out and create some ripples.
Yes, and I'll be in the audience cheering you on.
Yes, sounds good. Yes.
Ripples Physicians Wellbeing is made possible by the Joe R. and Teresa Lozano Long School of Medicine Office for Graduate Medical Education. To contact us or learn more about the Wellness Home, visit gmewellness.udesca.edu.
This podcast is inspired by the Dalai Lama's powerful quote. Just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. We provide physicians with pebbles, tangible and actionable practices that can help make positive impacts in their personal and professional lives.